My name is Barry Halverson. I'm with the Lake Lawrence Lake Management District. I'm videoing this for the Lake Lawrence YouTube channel. With me today is Paula Lowe. She's president of the Pattison Lake Association, and we're going to be asking her some questions today about the Lake Association itself. So Paula, why did the Lake residents start a Lake Association?
The Pattison Lake residents started the Pattison Lake Association because we had to collect money for the Lake Management District. To start our Lake Management District, the county required us to pay them $5,000. And that is really the only reason we started the nonprofit. We started it in November 2021, but we had been meeting for 2 years before that.
Okay, so you had a network of members that were lake residents and upland residents that were working with you?
Yes.
How many residents did you have that were working with you?
Well, in the total in the LMD, there are about 590 residents, but most of them are upland property owners. So we had a board, or it wasn't an official board at that time, but we had about 5 people working together as a sort of a steering committee to talk about the issues and look at options.
Okay.
And then after that, we started having public meetings with lake residents. So I would say, all told, we probably had over, 150 people meet with us off and on in group meetings to discuss the lake problems and just trying to decide what to do.
Okay. How many of your lake residents currently donate to the Lake Association?
Right now we have about 55 who donate to the Lake Association because we don't have dues, we ask for donations. So we've gotten donations anywhere from $20 to $5,000.
Okay. What kinds of things are the donations used for?
So we initially used the donations to pay for the website design and setup, and then we also have annual dues for the website, and then we pay for projects around the lake. And we may be working on some grants too in the future.
For the Lake Association or for the Lake Management District?
For the Lake Association.
Okay. And what kinds of activities around the lake does the association get involved in?
Well, I'm really proud of our community. Since we've started, we've built up this community of people who are getting to know each other, and when I ask for a task to be done, they just take it on. So last year at our annual meeting, I just kind of threw out, hey, we have a lot of derelict docks in the lake, and a couple of people just grabbed onto that and said, hey, we'll take care of it. We ended up having about 30 people go around the lake. They were quite systematic and made sure it wasn't somebody's dock that they owned, and they took all the docks out. So they took 16 tons of material out of the lake. So that was a huge project.
Yeah.
Then we've also started a plant identification committee, and so we have a couple people going around the lake with quart jars, getting lake water, and then putting the plants in and identifying them. And then they'll take them to the picnic in a couple of weeks and show them to people so they understand what the plants are. For communications, we have a website, we have the YouTube channel, and an e-newsletter that educate our property owners and community about the lake. And then we meet about 3 to 4 times a year, including an annual picnic. And at most of those meetings, we have speakers that talk about things related to the lake. We also purchased and installed 3 speed limit signs because people tend to go too fast on the lake, and it's only 5 miles an hour, no wake here. And so they put up 2 signs under the railroad trestle and then one by the boat launch. And that's helped. And then one of the signs got tagged, and we just called on a volunteer and said, hey, can you go clean this up? And it's cleaned up within a week.
Great.
So we have really responsive volunteers. We also have a great social committee. They put on the picnic. They also did what we called a no-race regatta a couple of weeks ago.
How does that work?
That's great. Well, we can't race on this lake, so they just started in the South Basin, and they all gathered at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then the motorboats went first, and then all the human-powered boats went behind them, and they went all the way around the lake in both basins, so they had a really good time. And they got a grant to help pay for treats for people, so that was nice. And then in October, they want to do something called Dock or Treat, so people can be down on their docks, and then people can boat around and get trick-or-treating. It can be kids or adults or anybody, so we're excited about that. And then we also had to pay about $16,000 to the to our lawyer because we had, we defended our lake voter rights to keep the Lake Management District ballot secret, but it was defeated in court. So we were fortunate that one of our lake property owners paid $10,000 of the bill, and then we had to raise the rest of the $6,000. And the topic will be addressed further when we talk to state legislators about changing the RCW. So those are just a few of our projects. We have more ideas for other projects, but that's what we've started with.
That's quite a bit.
It is.
Actually.
It is.
Particularly since you're such a young association.
Yes.
What has been the impact of the Lake Association on water quality?
Well, we're educating property owners about what they can do to improve their water quality, where they can take responsibility, like using different fertilizer and so on. It's just an ongoing process to teach people how to change their behavior. We also removed 16 tons of debris from the lake in spring 2023, and we'll do that again in 2024 because we have more docks, derelict docks to remove. We're teaching property owners about the aquatic plants and noxious weeds and how they can maintain them or remove them.
Okay. What would you say is the number one reason that you started the Lake Association?
We started the association because we needed to petition the county to form the Pattison Lake Management District, and we needed a checking account to pay for the $5,000. So that's why we started it. The underlying reason, and the most important reason, is because the lake property owners were concerned about having toxic algae blooms regularly. We had a toxic algae bloom for 7 weeks in the summer of 2022. The other important thing that residents are concerned about is they don't like the non-native lily pads growing out of control and other weeds dominating the shoreline. We actually had a couple of people have to be rescued, and one person died from getting caught in the lily pads within the last 4 years.
That was at the public boat launch, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
That one person died, yes.
Okay. Was your Lake Association helpful in forming the Lake Management District?
Yes, we started with a core group of people researching LMDs and special districts. So we weren't officially a lake association at that time. It was just a loose group of people that I knew had the skills to do the research and start studying this. So once this was all during COVID, so once we could start meeting, we had property owner meetings, and one of them was outdoors, to assess people's support. And we got unanimous support. And that was also backed by a couple of our members were doorbelling and talking to people around the lake, and that really helped as well. And then once the decision was made, we formed the Pattison Lake Association, and then the board members were also serving as Pattison Lake Management District Formation Committee. So it wasn't until the Lake Management District was officially formed and approved by the Board of County Commissioners that we separated. And so the LMD has a steering committee now, and the Pattison Lake Association is focusing on social and educational events around the lake.
Why did you decide to form a Lake Management District versus a special district?
Well, we looked at both the options, and to us, the special district was very similar to starting your own business, and a few of us had our own businesses, how much work that was, and there were three volunteers that would do all the work and then hire all the specialists, and that's an enormous job for 3 volunteers. We also didn't like the risk that was involved with the special district. We'd have to hire our own attorneys and so on. So we decided to form the Lake Management District, and it was to address the growing problem of the lily pads and the weeds dominating the shoreline. And we also want to learn what causes the 2 lake basins to be very different. One basin is always a little cloudy and green, and the other basin is clear, but appears to have a lot of tannin in the water. And one of the most important things we want to do is identify the pollution sources to reduce the pollution sources or eliminate them.
Okay, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about what the Lake Association is doing?
Yes, one of the most important groups that we have, subcommittees, is working on a quiet zone for our railroad track. So,
we just experienced that.
Yes.
And I had to cut the film to wait.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have a railroad track that was put in about 1943. So they filled the center of the lake, and so it formed this. So they had a track to go across the lake. And so now it looks like our lake has 2 basins, or we do have 2 basins. So it's greatly impacted water quality. But anyway, one of the roads, Atchison Road, has a train that goes across it, and it blows its horn whenever it goes across that road. Well, the road doesn't have very much traffic. And so the Quiet Zone Committee is got some great engineers working on it. They've done sound decibel readings around the lake. They're working with the county, the railroad, and trying to change the type of zoning that is there so that they don't have to blow their horn. So it's a long process. They've been working on this for a couple of years, and it will take some time to work through this.
Paula, is there anything else you'd like to add before we conclude?
I don't think so, other than I would say that I'm really proud of our lake volunteers, that we have some fabulous people working on the lake. They're highly competent and enthusiastic, and just the whole process of doing the lake, putting together the Lake Association and the Lake Management District, people are really buying into doing what they can do to help the lake. And we know there are some people that are unable to help for personal reasons, and that's okay. But we do have a great core of volunteers, so I really appreciate them because otherwise we wouldn't be able to do all the things that we do.
Great. Well, I appreciate you sitting down with us today and letting us know about Pattison Lake and the Pattison Lake Association and how you ended up forming a Lake Management District. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for having me.